If you are new here, my name is Blake, and on this channel, we upload content every day to help you improve your English skills. Today, we will practice your listening with real-life situations, advanced vocabulary, and expressions that will help you sound natural in English. Let me start with a story. Last week, my friend Daniel, who works as a project manager, shared an interesting experience with me. He told me about a meeting he had with his team. The discussion was about launching a new product. Daniel said the team was a bit divided because some people wanted to delay the launch, while others were very eager to start immediately. He explained, "I had to mediate the discussion carefully, ensuring everyone felt heard, but also keeping the final goal in mind." From Daniel's story, we can learn expressions like mediate a discussion, keeping the final goal in mind, and divided opinion. These phrases are commonly used in professional situations and can make your English sound much more natural. Now, let's talk about travel. My cousin, Sarah, recently moved to Paris with her husband, Michael. She told me about her first week there. Sarah said, "Navigating the city was overwhelming at first, especially understanding the metro system, but I quickly learned to plan my routes using maps and mobile apps." Here, we notice she used words like navigating the city, overwhelming, and plan my routes. These expressions are useful not just for travel, but for describing any new challenge you face. Next, I want to share a story about communication at work. My colleague, James, was dealing with a tricky situation involving a client. He explained, "The client had unrealistic expectations, and I needed to clarify our limitations without offending anyone. I phrased everything diplomatically and focused on constructive solutions." Advanced phrases here include unrealistic expectations, clarify our limitations, and phrase diplomatically. Using these words can make your conversation sound very professional. Let's move to daily life. Yesterday, I went shopping with my wife, Emma, for home decorations. She said, "I love finding unique pieces that can elevate the room's atmosphere." Here, expressions like elevate the room's atmosphere and unique pieces make the sentence more sophisticated than simply saying nice things for the room. Now, imagine you are giving advice to a friend. My neighbor Robert wanted tips on improving his English. I told him, "Focus on immersing yourself in the language every day. Try to read articles, listen to podcasts, and discuss topics with people who speak English fluently." Key phrases here are immersing yourself in the language and discuss topics. This is how advanced English speakers naturally explain advice. Finally, let's talk about problem solving. My sister Olivia recently organized a charity event. She faced a problem when one of the main speakers canceled at the last minute. Olivia said, "I had to think on my feet and quickly find a replacement. It was stressful, but we managed everything successfully." Phrases like think on my feet, at the last minute, and managed everything successfully are excellent for narrating challenges or unexpected events. Throughout today's episode, we covered professional situations, travel, communication, daily life, giving advice, and problem solving. Try to listen carefully to the phrases and expressions, and notice how people use them naturally in real-life stories. A few days ago, I had a conversation with my colleague Matthew about managing stress at work. He said, "I try to prioritize tasks carefully and avoid multitasking too much because it can lead to mistakes. I also make it a point to take short breaks to stay focused." Here, expressions like prioritize tasks carefully, avoid multitasking, and make it a point are very natural in professional conversations. Using them can help you sound confident when talking about work or productivity. I also want to share a story from my friend Sophia. She recently renovated her home with her husband, Henry. Sophia said, "We decided to blend modern and traditional styles to create a welcoming atmosphere. It was a challenge to coordinate colors and furniture. but the final result was worth every effort. Advanced phrases here include blend modern and traditional styles, welcoming atmosphere, and worth every effort. These expressions are excellent for describing projects, experiences, or even creative work. Now, let's discuss a social situation. Last weekend, I attended a dinner party hosted by my neighbor, Laura. She said to her guests, "Feel free to help yourselves, and don't hesitate to ask if you need anything." Here, phrases like "help yourselves" and "don't hesitate to ask" are very polite and natural in English, perfect for social interactions. Learning these can make you sound warm and approachable in daily conversations. I also want to share an example from travel planning. My friend James and his wife Clara were planning a long trip across Europe. James said, "We needed to coordinate our schedule meticulously to make the most of each city. It required a lot of research and careful timing, but it paid off in the end." Key expressions here are coordinate our schedule meticulously, make the most of each city, and paid off in the end. These phrases are highly useful when talking about planning, projects, or even personal goals. Here's another story from a professional perspective. My mentor, Mr. Thompson, once told me, "When you present an idea, it's crucial to anticipate questions and prepare clear, concise answers. People appreciate when you can communicate your points effectively without unnecessary details." Advanced phrases include anticipate questions, clear, concise answers, and communicate your points effectively. Using these expressions makes your English sound polished and confident in meetings or presentations. Let's move to a personal experience. My wife Emma recently started a gardening project. She explained, "I focused on cultivating a variety of plants that thrive in our climate. It's rewarding to see everything grow and flourish after consistent effort." Expressions like cultivating a variety of plants, thrive in our climate, and see everything grow and flourish are very descriptive and can elevate how you describe hobbies or personal projects in English. Finally, I want to share a story about problem solving in daily life. My friend Alex encountered a situation where his car broke down on a busy day. He said, "I had to think quickly and contact a reliable mechanic. Although it was stressful, handling it efficiently saved a lot of time." Phrases like "think quickly," "reliable mechanic," and "handling it efficiently" are practical and advanced ways to narrate challenges. A few weeks ago, my colleague Nathan shared a story about a challenging project at work. He said, "We were assigned a tight deadline for a client proposal, and our team needed to collaborate efficiently to finish on time. I coordinated the tasks, checked progress regularly, and made adjustments when needed." Expressions like tight deadline, collaborate efficiently, and made adjustments when needed are great for professional contexts. You can use them when talking about work, teamwork, or time management. Nathan continued, "One of the most important lessons I learned was to communicate proactively. Waiting for problems to appear only makes things worse. By keeping everyone informed, we avoided confusion and met the client's expectations." Here, phrases like "communicate proactively" and "met the client's expectations" show a professional and polished way to describe your work experiences. These expressions are particularly useful in office meetings, emails, and presentations. Let's switch to a story about lifestyle changes. My friend Laura recently decided to improve her health with a more active routine. She told me, "I started scheduling morning runs and replaced processed foods with fresh ingredients. Initially, it was hard to maintain consistency, but gradually, I noticed significant improvements in energy and focus." Key phrases here include maintain consistency, gradually notice significant improvements, and fresh ingredients. These expressions are advanced but very practical for describing personal growth or lifestyle changes. Next, I want to share a story about public speaking. My friend Daniel was invited to speak at a seminar about renewable energy. He explained, "Preparing for the talk required extensive research and rehearsal. I anticipated possible questions and practiced responding confidently. During the seminar, staying composed helped me connect with the audience effectively." Phrases like extensive research, anticipated possible questions, and staying composed are useful for describing preparation and confidence in professional or academic scenarios. I also recently spoke with my neighbor, Helen, about her experience organizing a community workshop. She said, "Coordinating multiple volunteers and ensuring everyone understood their responsibilities was challenging. I used detailed schedules and clear instructions to prevent mistakes, which made the event successful." Expressions like coordinating multiple volunteers, understood their responsibilities, and prevent mistakes are valuable when discussing leadership and management experiences. These phrases make your English sound precise and professional. Let's move to travel again. My cousin Martin and his wife Sophia visited Italy last month. Martin said, "Exploring historical sites was fascinating, but navigating local transportation required careful planning. We used guides and apps to find the most efficient routes and avoid wasting time." Key phrases here include navigating local transportation, careful planning, and most efficient routes. These phrases are perfect for describing travel experiences or giving advice on planning trips. I also want to share a story from a business negotiation perspective. My friend Rebecca works in international trade. She told me, "Negotiating contracts requires balancing firmness and flexibility. You must protect your company's interests while maintaining positive relationships. I always prepare multiple options to respond effectively during discussions." Advanced phrases here are balancing firmness and flexibility, protect your company's interests, and maintaining positive relationships. Using these expressions will help your English sound sophisticated in professional contexts. Here's an example from daily life. My friend Anthony recently redecorated his living room with his wife, Laura. He said, "We focused on creating a harmonious environment by combining subtle colors and comfortable furniture. Choosing the right lighting enhanced the overall atmosphere significantly." Phrases like creating a harmonious environment, subtle colors, and enhance the overall atmosphere are perfect for describing home projects or creative endeavors. Now, let's talk about decision-making under pressure. My colleague, Richard, once faced a situation where a critical report was due earlier than expected. He explained, "I analyzed priorities carefully, delegated tasks to capable team members, and monitored progress closely. This structured approach allowed us to submit the report on time without errors." Expressions like decision-making under pressure, delegated tasks to capable team members, and structured approach are ideal for advanced English in professional settings. Moving on, I want to share a story about personal growth. My friend Olivia, who recently started a new job, said, "Adjusting to a new work environment was daunting at first. I focused on learning the company culture, observing experienced colleagues, and asking questions when necessary. Over time, I became more confident and efficient in my role." Phrases like adjusting to a new work environment, observing experienced colleagues, and became more confident and efficient are highly practical for talking about career development. Let's discuss problem solving creatively. My friend Hannah organized a charity bake sale. She faced a last-minute issue when the bakery could not deliver the expected amount of cakes. She said, "I quickly improvised by contacting local volunteers and arranging homemade alternatives. The event went smoothly, and participants appreciated the effort." Phrases like last-minute issue, quickly improvised, and arranging homemade alternatives show advanced English usage when describing challenges and solutions. Next, I want to focus on a professional networking example. My friend Mark attended an industry conference recently. He said, networking effectively involves active listening, asking meaningful questions, and following up promptly. These actions help build lasting professional connections. Key phrases here include networking effectively, active listening, and meaningful questions. Using them in conversations can make your English sound confident and strategic in professional environments. Let's move to storytelling about learning experiences. My friend Sophia, who recently learned a new programming language, said, "At first, the syntax was confusing and debugging errors was frustrating. I decided to tackle small projects, seek online resources, and practice consistently. Gradually, I became proficient and started creating more complex applications." Phrases like tackle small projects, seek online resources, and practice consistently are excellent for describing learning processes or personal growth. I also want to share a story about teamwork. My friend Ethan worked on a collaborative art project with his colleagues. He said, "Coordination was key. Everyone had unique skills, so I assigned responsibilities based on strengths and encouraged open communication. The project outcome exceeded expectations." Phrases like coordination was key, assigned responsibilities based on strengths, and exceeded expectations are advanced ways to describe teamwork experiences effectively. Now, let's talk about financial planning. My friend Laura discussed saving for a major home renovation. She said, "I created a detailed budget, compared multiple suppliers, and set realistic milestones. This planning prevented overspending and ensured the project stayed on track." Key phrases here are detailed budget, realistic milestones, and stayed on track. These expressions are practical for discussions about finance, planning, or project management. Finally, let's focus on communication skills in conflict resolution. My friend James explained a situation at work. A misunderstanding arose between two departments, causing delays. I facilitated a discussion where each side expressed their concerns, and we developed a mutually agreeable solution. Listening carefully and remaining neutral was essential. Phrases like misunderstanding arose, facilitated a discussion, and mutually agreeable solution are excellent for advanced conversations about problem solving and negotiation. Through these stories, we explored work challenges, personal growth, travel planning, creative projects, conflict resolution, and advanced communication. Listen carefully to the phrases, intonation, and the way advanced expressions are used naturally in real-life contexts. Practicing these will help you not only understand, but also use sophisticated English confidently in your everyday conversations. A few weeks ago, my friend Oliver shared an experience from his job as a consultant. He said, "We were tasked with analyzing a client's operational inefficiencies. I had to conduct multiple interviews, review internal processes, and draft a detailed report highlighting actionable solutions." Phrases like analyzing operational inefficiencies, draft a detailed report, and actionable solutions are advanced expressions commonly used in business and consultancy contexts. Using these can help you describe work experiences in a clear and professional way. Oliver continued, "During the analysis, I realized that many team members felt their suggestions were overlooked. I organized a session where everyone could share ideas openly. This approach improved collaboration and motivated the team to contribute more effectively." Here, expressions such as share ideas openly, improved collaboration, and contribute more effectively are excellent for describing teamwork and leadership skills. Let's move to a story about personal development. My friend Victoria, who recently joined a volunteer organization, said, "At first, I was unsure how to manage different responsibilities. I started by observing experienced volunteers, taking notes on their methods, and gradually implementing those strategies myself." Key phrases here include manage different responsibilities, observing experienced volunteers, and implementing strategies. These expressions are very useful for discussing learning new skills or adapting to unfamiliar environments. Next, I want to share an experience about professional growth. My colleague Benjamin explained, I was asked to lead a cross-departmental initiative. To succeed, I established clear objectives, communicated expectations, and monitored progress regularly. This structure helped ensure accountability and timely completion. Phrases like cross-departmental initiative, established clear objectives, and ensure accountability are great for advanced English, especially in professional and corporate scenarios. Now, let's talk about cultural experiences. My friend Hannah and her husband, Robert, recently attended a traditional festival abroad. Hannah said, experiencing local customs firsthand was enlightening. I took notes on rituals, asked questions to understand the history, and tried traditional foods. It gave me a deeper appreciation of the culture. Key expressions here are experiencing local customs firsthand, gave me a deeper appreciation, and took notes on rituals. These phrases can help you describe travel, learning, or cultural experiences in a sophisticated manner. I also want to share a story from a problem-solving perspective. My colleague, Edward, once faced a situation where a software system malfunctioned during a critical operation. He said, I had to identify the source of the error, implement a temporary solution, and coordinate with the IT team for a permanent fix. Acting quickly prevented further issues. Phrases like identify the source of the error, implement a temporary solution, and prevented further issues are useful for advanced professional contexts, showing competence in handling unexpected challenges. Let's move to a creative project. My friend Sophia and her husband, Michael, were designing a mural for a local community center. Sophia explained, we brainstormed ideas, sketched multiple drafts, and experimented with different color schemes. It was essential to balance artistic vision with community preferences. Expressions like brainstormed ideas, sketched multiple drafts, and balance artistic vision are practical when describing creative processes or collaborative projects. Here's an example about negotiation skills. My friend Lucas works in international sales. He said, negotiations often require flexibility. I prepared multiple proposals and anticipated counter-arguments. Maintaining a calm demeanor and using persuasive language helped secure the deal. Phrases like anticipated counter-arguments, maintaining a calm demeanor, and persuasive language are advanced expressions for professional interactions and can elevate your English in discussions and business contexts. Next, I want to share a story about public interaction. My neighbor Emma recently hosted a community workshop on sustainable living. She said, engaging participants required clear explanations and interactive activities. I made sure to answer questions patiently and provide practical examples. This approach encouraged participation and enthusiasm. Key phrases here include engaging participants, interactive activities, and encouraged participation. These are highly useful when describing teaching, training, or leadership situations. Let's discuss problem-solving under tight constraints. My colleague, Daniel, had to organize a conference with limited resources. He explained, I prioritized tasks, delegated responsibilities according to strengths, and optimized our schedule to maximize efficiency. Despite limited resources, the event was a success. Phrases like tight constraints, delegated responsibilities according to strengths, and maximize efficiency are excellent for advanced English in professional or academic contexts. I also want to share a story about adapting to change. My friend Olivia recently switched careers. She said, transitioning into a new field was challenging. I invested time in learning industry-specific knowledge, sought mentorship, and practiced relevant skills regularly. This preparation boosted my confidence and performance. Expressions such as transitioning into a new field, sought mentorship, and boosted my confidence are perfect for describing personal growth or professional development. Now, let's move to travel planning. My friend Richard and his wife Claire were planning a multi-city European tour. Richard said, "Coordinating flights, accommodations, and sightseeing required meticulous planning. I created detailed itineraries for each day, accounted for possible delays, and prioritized must-see attractions." Key phrases here include meticulous planning, accounted for possible delays, and prioritized must-see attractions. Using these expressions makes your English sound precise and sophisticated when describing travel or organization. Here's an example of strategic thinking at work. My colleague Ethan shared, "We needed to optimize our marketing campaign. I analyzed past performance, identified trends, and proposed changes to maximize engagement. By presenting data-driven recommendations, the team accepted my suggestions." Phrases like optimize our marketing campaign, analyzed past performance, and data-driven recommendations are advanced expressions used in business strategy discussions. I also want to share a story about personal efficiency. My friend Laura recently streamlined her morning routine to improve productivity. She said, "I prepared meals in advance, set clear priorities, and limited distractions. These adjustments allowed me to focus on meaningful tasks and start the day with energy." Expressions like streamlined my morning routine, set clear priorities, and focus on meaningful tasks are practical for discussing productivity and time management. Next, let's discuss a social situation. My friend Michael attended a networking dinner. He explained, "Maintaining engaging conversations required active listening and thoughtful questions. I made an effort to remember names and refer to previous discussions. This approach helped me build stronger connections." Phrases such as engaging conversations, thoughtful questions, and build stronger connections are excellent for advanced social English and professional networking. Now, I want to share a story about conflict resolution. My friend Hannah faced a disagreement with a project partner. She said, "I listened carefully to understand their perspective, acknowledged valid points, and proposed a compromise. This method prevented escalation and maintained a positive working relationship." Key phrases here include understand their perspective, proposed a compromise, and prevented escalation. These are advanced ways to talk about resolving conflicts politely and effectively. Let's talk about learning from mistakes. My friend Lucas shared an experience from his previous role. He said, "I misjudged the timeline for a deliverable. I reflected on what went wrong, adjusted my approach, and implemented better tracking methods. This experience improved my project management skills significantly." Phrases like misjudged the timeline, adjusted my approach, and implemented better tracking methods are advanced expressions that convey reflection and growth. I also want to share a story about mentoring. My colleague Rebecca guided a new team member. She explained, "I paired them with experienced colleagues, provided clear instructions, and offered constructive feedback regularly. This approach helped them adapt quickly and perform effectively." Key phrases here include paired them with experienced colleagues, constructive feedback, and adapt quickly. These are useful for describing mentoring, leadership, and training situations. Finally, let's discuss innovation in problem solving. My friend Nathan created a new workflow for his team. He said, "I analyzed bottlenecks, brainstormed alternative approaches, and implemented solutions that reduced delays. Encouraging the team to share ideas also sparked creativity." Phrases like analyzed bottlenecks, alternative approaches, and sparked creativity are advanced ways to describe improving processes and encouraging collaboration. Through these examples, we covered consultancy, personal development, cultural experiences, negotiation, creative projects, productivity, social interactions, conflict resolution, and mentoring. Pay attention to how these phrases are naturally embedded in storytelling and real-life scenarios. Practicing them will enhance your ability to understand and use advanced English in various contexts. My friend Oliver recently shared an experience from his role in corporate strategy. He said, "We were asked to restructure a team that had been underperforming. I began by assessing each member's strengths and weaknesses, identifying areas for improvement, and designing a new workflow to enhance efficiency." Phrases like restructure a team, assessing strengths and weaknesses, and enhance efficiency are perfect for professional English, especially when talking about leadership or management. Oliver continued, "It was also essential to communicate these changes clearly. I held one-on-one meetings to ensure everyone understood their new responsibilities and how their performance would be evaluated. This transparency minimized resistance and built trust." Here, expressions such as communicate changes clearly, one-on-one meetings, and minimized resistance show advanced ways to describe workplace communication and leadership skills. Let's move to a story about travel and cultural learning. My friend Victoria and her husband Daniel recently visited Japan. Victoria said, "Experiencing traditional ceremonies firsthand provided unique insights. I asked questions about the history, observed local etiquette, and took notes to share with my colleagues at work." Key phrases here include experiencing ceremonies firsthand, observed local etiquette, and share with colleagues. These phrases are advanced, yet practical for talking about learning through travel and cultural experiences. Next, I want to share a story about tackling unexpected challenges. My colleague Rebecca faced a situation where her team had to deliver a last-minute report. She said, "I had to reassess priorities, reallocate resources, and maintain team morale under pressure. By staying organized and focused, we completed the report ahead of schedule." Expressions like reassess priorities, reallocate resources, and maintain team morale under pressure are excellent for describing problem solving and leadership. Now, let's focus on creative projects. My friend Ethan and his wife Laura recently designed a community mural. Ethan said, "We started by collecting ideas from local residents, sketching preliminary drafts, and experimenting with color palettes. Balancing artistic vision with community preferences required careful consideration." Phrases like collecting ideas, preliminary drafts, and careful consideration are advanced ways to describe creative processes collaboratively. I also want to share an experience about professional networking. My friend Lucas attended an international conference. He said, "Establishing meaningful connections involved active listening, asking insightful questions, and following up with personalized messages. This approach strengthened my professional relationships significantly." Key phrases here include establishing meaningful connections, asking insightful questions, and strengthen professional relationships. These expressions are essential for networking and professional communication. Here's a story about learning new skills. My friend Hannah recently started learning digital marketing. She said, "I began by completing online courses, practicing with small campaigns, and analyzing the results critically. Over time, I developed confidence in designing strategies that deliver measurable outcomes." Phrases like analyzing results critically, developed confidence, and measurable outcomes are excellent for discussing skill development and learning processes. Now, let's move to a situation involving problem solving in daily life. My colleague Richard had a situation where a key shipment was delayed. He explained, "I contacted the supplier immediately, identified alternative options, and communicated the updates to the client. Proactive communication prevented misunderstandings and maintained trust." Expressions such as identified alternative options, proactive communication, and maintain trust are advanced ways to describe handling problems effectively. I also want to share a story about personal growth. My friend Olivia recently started a new fitness routine with her husband, Michael. She said, "I planned workouts that gradually increased in intensity, tracked progress meticulously, and celebrated milestones. This approach made the routine sustainable and enjoyable." Key phrases include gradually increased in intensity, tracked progress meticulously, and made the routine sustainable. These expressions are useful for discussing personal development and habit formation. Let's focus on workplace challenges. My friend Anthony described a situation where two departments had conflicting priorities. He said, "I facilitated discussions to clarify objectives, encouraged compromise, and established clear deadlines. By mediating effectively, the team met all project goals on time." Phrases like facilitated discussions, encouraged compromise, and mediating effectively are advanced ways to describe leadership and conflict resolution. Here's another story about travel planning. My friend Martin and his wife Clara were preparing a long trip across multiple countries. Martin said, "Coordinating flights, accommodations, and sightseeing schedules required precise planning. I created detailed itineraries, accounted for potential delays, and prioritized must-see attractions." Key phrases include precise planning, accounted for potential delays, and prioritized must-see attractions. These expressions are perfect for describing organization and planning in travel or work projects. Next, let's talk about mentoring. My colleague Rebecca guided a new employee in her department. She explained, "I paired them with experienced team members, provided clear instructions, and offered regular feedback. This support helped them adapt quickly and perform effectively." Phrases like "paired with experienced team members," "offered regular feedback," and "adapt quickly" are highly useful for describing guidance and leadership. Now, I want to share a story about handling unexpected events. My friend James had a situation where an important presentation software failed during a meeting. He said, "I quickly switched to a backup device, summarized key points verbally, and engaged the audience with questions. This quick adaptation ensured the presentation continued smoothly." Expressions like "switch to a backup device," "summarized key points verbally," and "quick adaptation" are advanced ways to discuss problem solving in real time. Let's focus on strategic thinking. My friend Lucas recently managed a marketing campaign that underperformed initially. He said, "I reviewed performance metrics, identified weak points, and implemented targeted adjustments. By analyzing data critically, the campaign gained traction and achieved its objectives." Phrases such as performance metrics, implemented targeted adjustments, and analyzing data critically are excellent for professional and analytical English. Here's an example of creativity under constraints. My friend Hannah had to design a workshop with limited materials. She said, "I improvised solutions, reused available resources creatively, and engaged participants in interactive activities." This approach maintained high quality despite constraints. Key phrases include improvised solutions, reused available resources creatively, and maintained high quality. These expressions are useful in professional, educational, or project-based contexts. Next, let's talk about communication skills. My friend Ethan attended a business seminar. He said, "Effectively conveying ideas required clear articulation, supporting arguments with examples, and maintaining a confident tone. This combination ensured the audience understood and remembered key points." Phrases like clear articulation, supporting arguments with examples, and maintaining a confident tone are advanced ways to describe communication skills. I also want to share a story about leadership. My friend Oliver recently led a team during a challenging project. He said, "I established objectives, delegated responsibilities according to strengths, and monitored progress continuously. Regular feedback helped maintain focus and motivation throughout the project. Expressions such as delegated responsibilities according to strengths, monitored progress continuously, and maintained focus and motivation are highly applicable in professional leadership discussions. Let's move to personal efficiency. My friend Victoria described her method for managing multiple commitments. She said, "I created a prioritized schedule, set realistic deadlines, and reviewed progress daily. This structure allowed me to complete tasks efficiently and maintain quality." Key phrases include prioritize schedule, set realistic deadlines, and maintain quality. These are useful for talking about productivity and time management at an advanced level. Now, I want to share a story about negotiation skills. My friend Richard had to negotiate a contract for his company. He said, "I prepared thoroughly by researching the client's requirements, proposed flexible terms, and presented data to support our position. Remaining calm and confident helped reach a favorable agreement." Expressions like proposed flexible terms, presented data to support our position, and reaching a favorable agreement are advanced ways to describe negotiation and strategy. Next, let's talk about learning from mistakes. My colleague Laura explained, "I miscalculated resources for a project. I reviewed what went wrong, developed a corrective plan, and implemented changes systematically. This experience improved my planning and problem-solving skills significantly." Phrases like miscalculated resources, developed a corrective plan, and implemented changes systematically are advanced expressions useful in professional English and project management. I also want to share a story about adaptability. My friend Michael, who works internationally, said, "Adjusting to different cultural norms required observation, patience, and open-mindedness. I asked questions respectfully and adapted communication styles to each context, which strengthened relationships." Key phrases include adjusting to different cultural norms, adapted communication styles, and strengthened relationships. These are essential for professional and social interactions globally. Finally, let's discuss problem-solving with creativity. My friend Hannah organized a local charity event. She said, "Unexpected challenges arose, so I brainstormed alternative solutions, delegated tasks efficiently, and coordinated resources effectively. The event was successful and well received by participants." Expressions like brainstormed alternative solutions, delegated tasks efficiently, and coordinated resources effectively are advanced ways to describe managing complex situations successfully. My friend Samuel recently shared an experience from his career in architecture. He said, "We were tasked with redesigning an old building while preserving its historical elements. I collaborated with engineers, designers, and local authorities to ensure the new design met safety standards and aesthetic expectations." Expressions like preserving historical elements, collaborated with engineers, and met aesthetic expectations are advanced ways to describe professional projects in a precise and polished manner. Samuel continued, "The challenge was balancing modern functionality with historical preservation. We conducted detailed site surveys, consulted archival documents, and held regular design reviews. Every decision had to be justified carefully to satisfy both regulatory requirements and client expectations." Here, phrases such as balancing modern functionality, consulted archival documents, and justify decisions carefully are perfect for describing complex professional projects or analytical thinking. Let's move to a story about international collaboration. My colleague Rebecca described working on a project with a partner company overseas. She said, "Coordinating across time zones required meticulous scheduling. I organized video calls, documented decisions, and ensured all stakeholders received timely updates." Key expressions here include coordinating across time zones, documented decisions, and timely updates. These phrases are ideal for describing global teamwork and professional efficiency. Next, I want to share a story about personal resilience. My friend Daniel, who recently started a demanding graduate program, said, "The workload was overwhelming at first. I created a structured study plan, prioritized critical assignments, and sought support from peers. Gradually, I developed the stamina and focus to handle complex tasks effectively." Phrases like structured study plan, prioritized critical assignments, and handle complex tasks effectively are excellent for discussing academic challenges and personal growth. Now, let's discuss professional presentations. My friend Olivia described a situation where she had to present results to senior management. She said, "I organized my findings logically, prepared visual aids to highlight key points, and practiced delivery to maintain clarity and confidence. Anticipating possible questions allowed me to respond effectively under pressure." Expressions such as organized findings logically, visual aids to highlight key points, and anticipated possible questions are advanced ways to describe clear communication in professional settings. Here's a story about strategic problem solving. My colleague Ethan encountered a situation where a major supplier unexpectedly increased prices. He said, "I analyzed alternative suppliers, renegotiated terms, and created a cost comparison to present to management. This proactive approach minimized financial impact and maintained operational continuity." Phrases like analyzed alternative suppliers, renegotiated terms, and minimized financial impact are very useful for professional and business-related English. Next, let's move to a creative endeavor. My friend Sophia and her husband Michael were planning a local art exhibition. Sophia said, "We curated a selection of artworks, organized space for optimal visibility, and coordinated promotional activities. Every detail, from lighting to signage, was considered to enhance visitors' experience." Key phrases here include curated a selection of artworks, optimal visibility, and enhance visitors' experience. These expressions are useful for describing planning, coordination, and creative projects. Now, I want to share a story about negotiation skills. My friend Lucas works in international trade and described a situation with a difficult client. He said, "I listened attentively to understand their priorities, presented flexible proposals, and highlighted the mutual benefits. By staying professional and composed, I secured an agreement that satisfied both parties." Phrases like listened attentively, highlighted mutual benefits, and staying professional and composed are advanced expressions for business negotiations. Here's a story about adaptability in the workplace. My colleague Nathan faced a sudden team change when several members were reassigned. He said, "I redefined responsibilities, communicated changes clearly, and supported team members during the transition. Focusing on efficiency while maintaining morale was crucial." Expressions such as redefined responsibilities, supported team members, and maintaining morale are excellent for discussing change management and leadership. Next, I want to discuss effective communication in social situations. My friend Hannah attended a formal networking event. She said, "I initiated conversations by asking open-ended questions, shared relevant experiences, and listened actively. Referring back to previous discussions helped build rapport quickly." Key phrases here include initiated conversations, shared relevant experiences, and build rapport quickly. These expressions are very practical for professional and social English. Let's focus on planning under pressure. My friend James described organizing a last-minute conference. He said, "I coordinated venue logistics, confirmed speakers, and prepared contingency plans for technical issues. Delegating tasks to reliable colleagues ensured the event ran smoothly." Phrases like coordinated venue logistics, prepared contingency plans, and delegating tasks to reliable colleagues are advanced expressions for professional efficiency and event management. Here's an example from personal development. My friend Laura recently started learning a new language. She said, "I created a daily study routine, practiced speaking with native speakers online, and recorded myself to track progress. Regular self-assessment helped me identify weaknesses and improve steadily." Expressions such as daily study routine, practice speaking with native speakers, and regular self-assessment are excellent for discussing learning and self-improvement. Next, let's talk about problem-solving creatively. My friend Michael encountered an unexpected software issue during a project. He said, "I identified the root cause, explored alternative solutions, and implemented a temporary fix while working on a permanent resolution. Collaborating with colleagues was essential to resolve the problem efficiently." Key phrases here include identified the root cause, implemented a temporary fix, and resolved the problem efficiently. These are useful for technical and professional English. Now, I want to share a story about leadership in challenging circumstances. My friend Ethan explained, "I led a cross-functional team during a critical project. I clarified objectives, delegated tasks according to expertise, and monitored progress continuously. Providing constructive feedback helped maintain focus and motivation." Phrases like cross-functional team, delegated tasks according to expertise, and constructive feedback are advanced expressions for describing leadership and project management. Here's a story about travel experiences. My friend Victoria and her husband, Daniel, visited several countries last year. She said, "I researched cultural norms beforehand, respected local traditions, and used public transport efficiently. Observing daily life closely allowed me to appreciate different lifestyles." Key phrases include researched cultural norms, respected local traditions, and appreciate different lifestyles. These expressions are ideal for discussing travel and cultural awareness. Next, let's focus on strategic thinking at work. My colleague Nathan described a project optimization process. He said, "I analyzed workflow bottlenecks, proposed alternative methods, and coordinated implementation with team members. Continuous evaluation ensured improvements were effective." Expressions such as workflow bottlenecks, proposed alternative methods, and continuous evaluation are advanced ways to describe strategic planning and efficiency. Now, I want to share a story about creative problem-solving in education. My friend Hannah, a teacher, said, "I developed interactive lessons, adapted materials to students' levels, and encouraged collaborative activities. Observing students' engagement helped me refine methods continually." Key phrases here include interactive lessons, adapted materials, and refine methods continually. These expressions are useful for professional and educational contexts. Let's move to personal organization. My friend Samuel described how he manages multiple commitments. He said, "I maintain a detailed calendar, set priorities daily, and review progress at the end of each week. This routine helps me stay productive and reduces stress." Phrases like maintain a detailed calendar, set priorities daily, and reduces stress are excellent for advanced English in productivity and personal efficiency. Next, I want to share a story about client communication. My friend Rebecca said, "When explaining complex proposals, I use clear language, provide visual aids, and check understanding by asking follow-up questions. This ensures clarity and builds trust with clients." Key phrases include explaining complex proposals, provide visual aids, and builds trust with clients. These are useful for professional communication and presentations. Finally, here's a story about teamwork under pressure. My friend Daniel described a situation where his team faced tight deadlines. He said, "I coordinated responsibilities, monitored progress regularly, and supported colleagues when needed. Maintaining open communication and a positive attitude ensured successful project completion. Phrases like coordinated responsibilities, monitored progress regularly, and successful project completion are advanced ways to describe teamwork and leadership. My friend Oliver recently shared his morning routine. He said, "I wake up at 6 o'clock, make a cup of coffee, and plan my day. I write a short to-do list with priorities, so I know exactly what I need to accomplish." Phrases like plan my day, write a to-do list, and priorities are simple but very useful for daily life conversations. Oliver continued, "After breakfast, I usually go for a jog in the park. Exercising helps me feel energized and focused. Sometimes I meet neighbors on my route, and we chat briefly about our plans for the day." Key expressions here include feel energized, focused, and chat briefly. These phrases are practical for talking about daily routines and social interactions. Let's move to cooking. My friend Hannah described preparing dinner for her family. She said, "I usually plan meals in advance, check the ingredients I have at home, and follow simple recipes. Cooking with my husband makes it more enjoyable, and we try new dishes every week." Phrases like plan meals in advance, follow simple recipes, and try new dishes are easy to understand but useful for daily conversation. Next, I want to share a story about grocery shopping. My friend Lucas said, "I make a shopping list before going to the store. It helps me buy only what I need and avoid unnecessary items. I compare prices and sometimes choose healthier options for my meals." Key phrases here include shopping list, buy only what I need, and healthier options. These are common expressions for daily life and practical English. Now, let's talk about household chores. My friend Olivia explained, "I clean the house twice a week. I vacuum the floors, wipe surfaces, and organize items. Doing chores regularly keeps the home comfortable and tidy." Phrases like vacuum the floors, wipe surfaces, and keep the home tidy are simple expressions useful for describing daily tasks. Here's a story about using public transport. My friend Daniel said, "I usually take the bus to work. I check the schedule on my phone to make sure I'm on time. Sometimes there is traffic, so I leave early to avoid delays." Key phrases include check the schedule, make sure I'm on time, and avoid delays. These phrases are very practical for daily conversations about commuting. Next, let's talk about spending time with family. My friend Michael shared, "In the evenings, my wife and I like to watch the news together or discuss our day. Sometimes we play board games with our children. It's a good way to relax and bond as a family." Phrases like discuss our day, bond as a family, and a good way to relax are useful for describing family life. I also want to share a story about exercising at home. My friend Victoria said, "I do yoga every morning for 30 minutes. It helps me improve flexibility and stay calm. I follow online videos and sometimes exercise with my husband." Key expressions here include improve flexibility, stay calm, and follow online videos. These phrases are simple but perfect for daily English discussions about health. Let's focus on shopping online. My friend Ethan explained, "I often buy clothes and household items online. I read reviews, check sizes carefully, and compare prices." Online shopping saves time and is convenient, especially during busy weeks. Phrases like read reviews, check sizes carefully, and saves time are practical for everyday conversations about technology and shopping. Now, I want to share a story about managing money. My friend Laura said, "I keep track of my monthly expenses in a notebook. I write down rent, bills, groceries, and small purchases. It helps me plan my budget and avoid overspending." Key expressions here include keep track of expenses, plan my budget, and avoid overspending. These are common phrases used in daily life to talk about finances. Next, let's talk about social interactions. My friend James said, "I often meet my friends at a local cafe on weekends. We chat, drink coffee, and sometimes play card games. Spending time together helps us relax and strengthen our friendship. Phrases like spending time together helps us relax and strengthen our friendship are easy to use in daily conversations. Here's a story about cooking with children. My friend Olivia explained, "Sometimes I cook simple meals with my children. We make sandwiches, bake cookies, or prepare fruit salads. Cooking together teaches them responsibility and is a fun activity." Key phrases include cook simple meals, teaches responsibility, and fun activity. These are simple daily phrases, but helpful for describing family life. Let's focus on using technology. My friend Lucas said, "I use my phone to set reminders for appointments and meetings. I also use apps to track my fitness and grocery lists." Technology makes daily tasks easier and more organized. Phrases like set reminders, track my fitness, and makes daily tasks easier are practical for daily conversations about technology. Next, I want to share a story about enjoying hobbies. My friend Michael said, "In my free time, I enjoy reading books and gardening. Reading helps me relax, and gardening gives me satisfaction when I see plants grow. Sometimes I share tips with neighbors who have gardens too." Key phrases include, "In my free time," "helps me relax," and "gives me satisfaction." These phrases are simple but very natural in daily English conversations. Now, let's talk about cleaning up after meals. My friend Victoria explained, "After dinner, I wash the dishes, wipe the table, and put leftovers in the refrigerator. Doing small tasks immediately makes cleaning easier and faster." Phrases like wipe the table, put leftovers in the refrigerator, and makes cleaning easier are very practical for daily life. Here's a story about preparing for work. My friend Ethan said, "I prepare my clothes and bag the night before. I check my schedule to know what tasks I need to complete. This routine helps me start the day without stress." Key expressions include prepare my clothes, check my schedule, and start the day without stress. These are common phrases that make English sound natural in daily contexts. Next, I want to share a story about walking pets. My friend Laura said, "I walk my dog every morning. It gives both of us fresh air and exercise. Sometimes I meet neighbors walking their pets, and we exchange greetings." Phrases like fresh air and exercise, meet neighbors, and exchange greetings are easy to understand and useful for daily life conversations. Let's focus on laundry. My friend James explained, "I do laundry twice a week. I sort clothes by color, use the correct detergent, and fold them neatly. Having clean clothes ready for the week saves time and effort." Key phrases include sort clothes by color, use the correct detergent, and saves time and effort. These expressions are very practical for describing household routines. Next, let's talk about relaxing in the evening. My friend Hannah said, "After finishing chores, I like to sit with a cup of tea and listen to music or read a book. It helps me unwind and feel ready for the next day." Phrases like listen to music, helps me unwind and ready for the next day are easy, natural phrases for everyday life conversations. Now, I want to share a story about weekend errands. My friend Daniel said, "On Saturdays, I go to the market for fresh vegetables and fruits. I also visit the pharmacy for any household needs. Planning errands for the weekend keeps the week less stressful." Key expressions include visit the pharmacy, fresh vegetables and fruits, and keeps the week less stressful. These phrases are practical for daily life English. Here's a story about cooking simple meals. My friend Olivia explained, "For lunch, I often make sandwiches or salads. Using ingredients like vegetables, cheese, and eggs makes meals quick and healthy. Preparing meals at home saves money and time." Phrases like makes meals quick and healthy, preparing meals at home, and saves money and time are very useful for talking about daily routines. My friend Michael recently shared his experience of organizing his day at home. He said, "I usually start by making my bed and tidying the living room. It creates a sense of order and sets a positive tone for the day." Phrases like "creates a sense of order" and "sets a positive tone" are easy to understand but useful. For advanced learners, talking about routines, Michael continued, "After that, I prepare breakfast. I often cook eggs and toast, and I drink a glass of fresh juice. I try to make breakfast healthy, so I have enough energy for the morning." Key phrases here include prepare breakfast, drink a glass of fresh juice, and make breakfast healthy. These are simple daily expressions, naturally useful for conversation. Let's move to grocery shopping. My friend Olivia said, "I plan a shopping list before visiting the store. I check the fridge and pantry to see what items are needed. Following a list helps avoid buying things I do not need." Phrases like plan a shopping list, check the fridge and pantry, and avoid buying things I do not need are practical for daily English. Next, I want to share a story about using public transport. My friend Daniel said, "I take the bus to work most days. I always check the timetable to ensure I am not late. Sometimes traffic is heavy, so I leave a little earlier than usual." Key expressions include check the timetable, ensure I am not late, and leave a little earlier. These are common phrases for commuting conversations. Now, let's talk about cooking for the family. My friend Hannah explained, "I usually prepare simple meals like pasta or rice dishes. My husband helps with chopping vegetables. Cooking together makes the process faster and more enjoyable." Phrases like prepare simple meals, helps with chopping vegetables, and more enjoyable are useful for everyday conversations. Here's a story about doing laundry. My friend Lucas said, "I separate clothes by color and fabric type before washing. I use appropriate detergent for each load and fold clothes neatly once they are dry. This routine keeps clothes in good condition." Key phrases include separate clothes by color, appropriate detergent, and keeps clothes in good condition. These are practical expressions for daily chores. Next, I want to share a story about exercising at home. My friend Victoria said, "I do stretching exercises in the morning for 15 minutes. Sometimes I use a yoga mat or follow an online video. Stretching helps me feel relaxed and improves flexibility." Phrases like stretching exercises, follow an online video, and improves flexibility are simple but useful in daily life English. Now, let's focus on household organization. My friend Ethan explained, "I clean and organize the kitchen after cooking. I wash dishes, wipe surfaces, and arrange items in cabinets. Keeping the kitchen tidy makes daily cooking easier." Expressions like arrange items in cabinets, keeping the kitchen tidy, and makes daily cooking easier are excellent for talking about household routines. Here's a story about managing a weekly budget. My friend Laura said, "I write down all my expenses for the week, including groceries, bills, and small purchases. I compare spending with my budget to ensure I do not overspend. Planning ahead keeps finances under control." Key phrases include write down all expenses, compare spending with my budget, and keeps finances under control. These are simple, practical phrases. Next, let's talk about social interactions. My friend James said, "I often call my parents in the evening to check how they are doing. We talk about daily life, share news, and give advice to each other. Regular communication keeps relationships strong." Phrases like check how they are doing, share news, and keeps relationships strong are easy and natural for daily conversation. Now, I want to share a story about organizing errands. My friend Michael said, "I plan errands for the week, like visiting the pharmacy, buying groceries, and going to the bank. Organizing errands in advance saves time and avoids unnecessary trips." Expressions like plan errands for the week, saves time, and avoids unnecessary trips are practical for everyday English. Let's focus on personal hygiene routines. My friend Olivia explained, I shower every morning and brush my teeth twice a day. I also wash my hands regularly, especially before meals. Following a hygiene routine keeps me healthy and confident. Phrases like shower every morning, brush my teeth twice a day, and keeps me healthy are simple but essential daily life expressions. Next, I want to share a story about meal planning. My friend Daniel said, I decide what to cook for the week on Sundays. I make a list of ingredients and plan meals that are easy to prepare. This helps avoid last-minute decisions and makes cooking stress-free. Key phrases include decide what to cook, easy to prepare, and makes cooking stress-free. These are very practical for daily English conversations. Now, let's talk about walking pets. My friend Hannah said, I take my dog for a walk every morning. We enjoy the fresh air and exercise. Sometimes I meet neighbors who are walking their pets, and we have short conversations. Phrases like fresh air and exercise, short conversations, and walking their pets are easy and natural in daily English. Here's a story about relaxing after work. My friend Lucas explained, after finishing work, I sit in the living room with a cup of tea. I read a book or listen to the radio. Relaxing helps me feel refreshed for the next day. Key phrases include sit in the living room, feel refreshed, and for the next day. These are simple phrases suitable for everyday use. Next, let's talk about doing small home repairs. My friend Victoria said, I fix small things like loose handles, dripping taps, or light bulbs. I keep basic tools at home. Doing small repairs quickly prevents bigger problems later. Phrases like loose handles, dripping taps, and prevents bigger problems are useful daily life expressions. Now, I want to share a story about preparing for work or school. My friend Ethan said, I pack my bag the night before with everything I need. I check if I have documents, keys, and my water bottle. Preparing in advance makes the morning routine smooth and stress-free. Key expressions include pack my bag, preparing in advance, and makes the morning routine smooth. These are very practical phrases. Here's a story about grocery shopping efficiently. My friend Laura explained, I use reusable bags and organize items by type while shopping. I check for discounts and compare prices. Being organized makes the shopping trip faster and easier. Phrases like organize items by type, compare prices, and makes the shopping trip faster are common daily life expressions. Next, let's talk about family communication. My friend James said, I talk to my children about their school day and activities. We discuss homework, hobbies, and their friends. Sharing daily experiences helps strengthen our family bond. Key phrases include discuss homework, daily experiences, and strengthen our family bond. These are simple yet effective for everyday English. Now, I want to share a story about keeping track of tasks. My friend Michael said, I write reminders in my phone for tasks like paying bills, cleaning, or calling someone. Checking reminders every day helps me stay organized and avoid forgetting anything important. Phrases like write reminders, stay organized, and avoid forgetting are practical daily life expressions. Let's focus on preparing simple meals quickly. My friend Olivia said, when I am short on time, I make salads, sandwiches, or omelets. Using fresh ingredients and simple recipes makes cooking faster and healthy. Key phrases include short on time, using fresh ingredients, and makes cooking faster. These are practical and natural phrases for daily conversation. Here's a story about doing exercise at home. My friend Daniel explained, I do short workouts in the living room with no equipment. I follow routines from apps or online videos. Exercising at home is convenient and keeps me healthy. Phrases like short workouts, no equipment, and keeps me healthy are useful for daily English conversations about fitness. Next, I want to share a story about organizing personal space. My friend Hannah said, I clean my desk, organize papers, and arrange my books. Having a tidy space helps me focus better on tasks and feel less stressed. Key phrases include organized papers, having a tidy space, and focus better on tasks. These are very practical daily life phrases. My friend Oliver recently shared his experience visiting the local market. He said, "I usually go early in the morning when the market is less crowded. I check the prices of fruits and vegetables, pick fresh items, and sometimes negotiate for better deals." Phrases like less crowded, pick fresh items, and negotiate for better deals are practical for talking about shopping. Oliver continued, "While shopping, I often chat with the vendors about seasonal produce. They give advice on the best fruits or vegetables to buy. Talking to vendors helps me choose quality items and learn about new ingredients." Key expressions here include chat with the vendors, give advice, and quality items. These phrases are simple but natural in daily conversation. Next, let's focus on using public transport. My friend Hannah said, "I take the subway to visit the city center. I check the route map and travel time before leaving. I always carry a card with extra balance in case the machine does not work." Phrases like travel time, carry a card with extra balance, and route map are practical for daily commuting conversations. Now, I want to share a story about going to a cafe. My friend Lucas said, "I like to visit a small cafe near my office. I order coffee and a snack, read a book, and sometimes meet friends. The atmosphere is quiet and relaxing, which helps me take a short break." Key phrases include order coffee and a snack, quiet and relaxing, and take a short break. These are very useful for conversations about cafes or leisure. Here's a story about walking in the park. My friend Victoria said, "I go for a walk in the park every evening. I enjoy observing the trees, flowers, and people exercising. Sometimes I take photographs of interesting scenes to share later." Phrases like observing the trees, people exercising, and take photographs are accessible and natural for daily conversation. Next, let's talk about visiting a pharmacy. My friend Ethan explained, "I go to the pharmacy to buy vitamins, bandages, or other daily essentials. I check the labels carefully and ask the pharmacist for advice if I am unsure about a product." Key expressions include daily essentials, check the labels carefully, and ask for advice. These phrases are practical for everyday interactions. Now, I want to share a story about going to a restaurant. My friend Laura said, "I often go to a local restaurant with my husband on weekends. We look at the menu, ask about specials, and enjoy the meal slowly. Dining out is a good way to relax and spend quality time together." Phrases like look at the menu, ask about specials, and spend quality time are simple but very useful for social conversations. Here's a story about using a library. My friend James said, "I visit the library to borrow books and study. I look for new arrivals, find a quiet spot, and take notes while reading. Libraries are peaceful places for concentration and learning." Key expressions include borrow books, quiet spot, and peaceful places. These are practical phrases for daily life and education. Next, let's talk about going to a supermarket. My friend Olivia explained, "I make a shopping list, check prices, and look for discounts. I compare different brands and select the items I need. Being organized makes shopping faster and more efficient." Phrases like look for discounts, compare different brands, and more efficient are useful for daily conversations about shopping. Now, I want to share a story about visiting a bank. My friend Daniel said, "I go to the bank to deposit money, pay bills, or check my account. I wait in line politely, fill out forms carefully, and ask for help if needed. Visiting a bank requires patience and attention to detail." Key expressions include wait in line politely, fill out forms carefully, and attention to detail. These phrases are practical for daily transactions. Here's a story about riding a bicycle. My friend Michael said, I ride my bicycle to the park or nearby places. I wear a helmet for safety and follow traffic rules. Cycling is healthy and helps me relax after work. Phrases like wear a helmet, follow traffic rules, and helps me relax are simple but very useful for daily life conversations. Next, let's focus on attending a community event. My friend Victoria explained, I attend local events like fairs or exhibitions. I talk to other participants, try different foods, and sometimes participate in activities. Community events are enjoyable and a good way to meet people. Key expressions include talk to other participants, participate in activities, and a good way to meet people. These are accessible phrases for social interactions. Now, I want to share a story about using a coffee shop for work. My friend Ethan said, I sometimes take my laptop to a coffee shop. I order a drink, find a quiet table, and complete tasks while listening to soft music. Working in a new environment helps me concentrate better. Phrases like find a quiet table, complete tasks, and new environment are practical for daily life situations. Here's a story about going to the post office. My friend Laura said, I visit the post office to send packages and letters. I check postage rates, fill out forms carefully, and hand the items to the staff. Using the post office requires patience and attention. Key expressions include send packages and letters, check postage rates, and requires patience. These phrases are very practical for everyday life. Next, let's talk about visiting a park with children. My friend James explained, I take my nieces to the park to play on swings and slides. I supervise them closely and make sure they are safe. Spending time outdoors is fun and healthy for children. Phrases like supervise closely, spending time outdoors, and fun and healthy are accessible and useful in daily conversations. Now, I want to share a story about visiting a bookstore. My friend Michael said, I browse shelves to find books on topics I enjoy. I sometimes ask staff for recommendations and compare prices. Bookstores are peaceful places to explore and learn. Key expressions include browse shelves, ask for recommendations, and peaceful places. These are simple yet practical phrases. Here's a story about going to a pharmacy for medication. My friend Olivia said, I check the labels, ask the pharmacist for instructions, and buy only what I need. Following instructions carefully is important for safety. Phrases like ask for instructions, buy only what I need, and important for safety are useful in daily life English. Next, let's focus on visiting a local cafe with friends. My friend Daniel explained, we order drinks, chat about our week, and sometimes share snacks. Cafes are great for casual meetings and enjoying time together. Key expressions include chat about our week, share snacks, and great for casual meetings. These are practical daily life phrases. Now, I want to share a story about using public transport efficiently. My friend Hannah said, I check the bus timetable, choose a seat, and keep my ticket ready. Being prepared makes the journey smooth and less stressful. Phrases like choose a seat, keep my ticket ready, and less stressful are very useful for everyday interactions. Here's a story about shopping for clothes. My friend Lucas said, I try on different sizes, check the quality of the fabric, and ask for recommendations from staff. Shopping carefully helps me choose better items. Key expressions include try on different sizes, check the quality of the fabric, and choose better items. These are accessible phrases for daily life conversations. Next, let's talk about visiting a park alone. My friend Victoria explained, I sit on a bench and enjoy the fresh air. I observe people walking their pets or exercising. Spending quiet time outdoors helps me think and relax. Phrases like enjoy the fresh air, observe people, and spending quiet time are practical and easy to use. Now, I want to share a story about taking a taxi. My friend Ethan said, I check the route before leaving, tell the driver the destination clearly, and keep my phone ready for navigation. Taking a taxi efficiently saves time. Key expressions include tell the driver the destination, keep my phone ready, and saves time. These are very useful phrases for daily life. Here's a story about visiting a small market stall. My friend Laura said, I buy fresh bread, fruits, and small groceries. I sometimes ask the seller about new products or recommendations. Visiting local stalls supports small businesses and gives fresh options. Phrases like ask about new products, supports small businesses, and gives fresh options are simple yet practical. Next, let's focus on going to a public library for research. My friend James explained, I find books on specific topics, take notes carefully, and return items on time. Using a library is organized and helpful for learning. Key expressions include take notes carefully, return items on time, and helpful for learning. These are practical for daily life interactions. Now, I want to share a story about visiting a local cafe to relax. My friend Michael said, I order a drink, sit by the window, and watch people passing by. It's a calm way to spend a few minutes and enjoy the surroundings. Phrases like sit by the window, watch people passing by, and enjoy the surroundings are accessible and natural. My friend Oliver recently shared his experience visiting a bakery. He said, I go there early to buy fresh bread and pastries. I ask the staff which items are freshly baked and select the ones that look best. The aroma of bread in the morning is always delightful. Phrases like freshly baked, select the ones that look best, and aroma of bread are practical for daily life conversations. Oliver continued, sometimes I chat with other customers about their favorite items or recipes. Talking to people casually in stores helps me practice conversation and learn new things. Key expressions here include chat with other customers, favorite items, and practice conversation. These are very useful for social interactions in public places. Next, let's focus on visiting a small local shop. My friend Hannah said, I go to the shop to buy household essentials. I compare prices, check the quality of products, and sometimes ask the shopkeeper for suggestions. Being careful while shopping ensures I get the best value. Phrases like household essentials, check the quality of products, and best value are practical for daily conversation. Now, I want to share a story about going to a public park. My friend Lucas said, I take a blanket and sit near the lake. I watch ducks, joggers, and families enjoying their time. Spending time in nature is relaxing and refreshing. Key phrases include sit near the lake, watch ducks, and relaxing and refreshing. These are simple, natural phrases for daily life discussions. Here's a story about visiting a cafe with colleagues. My friend Victoria explained, we go there for coffee breaks. We order drinks, share small snacks, and discuss work projects informally. Cafes are ideal for casual meetings and informal discussions. Phrases like coffee breaks, discuss work projects informally, and ideal for casual meetings are accessible and practical. Next, let's talk about taking a bus. My friend Ethan said, I stand in line and wait for the bus to arrive. I check that I have the correct change or pass. When I sit, I find a comfortable spot and sometimes read a book. Key expressions include stand in line, correct change or pass, and find a comfortable spot. These are natural phrases for daily commuting. Now, I want to share a story about going to a local library. My friend Laura said, I search for books on the topics I am interested in. I take notes, sit at a quiet table, and return books on time. The library is a calm place for learning and reflection. Phrases like sit at a quiet table, return books on time, and calm place for learning are very practical. Here's a story about visiting a pharmacy for daily needs. My friend James explained, I go to buy first aid supplies, vitamins, or personal care items. I ask the pharmacist for guidance if I am unsure. Following instructions carefully ensures safety and effectiveness. Key expressions include first aid supplies, personal care items, and ensures safety and effectiveness. These are common phrases for everyday errands. Next, let's talk about going to a supermarket. My friend Michael said, I make a list of groceries I need. I check for discounts, compare brands, and select fresh items. Being organized while shopping saves time and reduces stress. Phrases like compare brands, select fresh items, and reduces stress are practical for daily conversations. Now, I want to share a story about dining in a small restaurant. My friend Olivia said, I look at the menu, ask the waiter for recommendations, and order my meal. I enjoy the atmosphere and sometimes talk to other customers about food or recipes. Phrases like ask for recommendations, enjoy the atmosphere, and talk to other customers are accessible and useful in social contexts. Here's a story about visiting a local park with family. My friend Daniel said, we bring a picnic basket and sit under a tree. My children play on swings, and my husband joins in the games. Spending time outdoors strengthens our family bond. Key phrases include bring a picnic basket, play on swings, and strengthens our family bond. These are simple but practical daily expressions. Next, let's focus on visiting a bakery with children. My friend Hannah explained, we choose pastries, pay at the counter, and enjoy them at a small table. Children love seeing freshly baked items and selecting their favorites. Phrases like pay at the counter, small table, and selecting their favorites are natural for daily life situations. Now, I want to share a story about using public transport efficiently. My friend Lucas said, I check the timetable, board the bus on time, and find a seat near the window. I carry a book or listen to audio while traveling. Planning the journey reduces stress. Key expressions include board the bus on time, near the window, and reduces stress. These are practical phrases for commuting. Here's a story about shopping for clothing. My friend Victoria said, I try different sizes, check the material, and ask staff for advice. Comparing items carefully ensures I choose comfortable and suitable clothes. Phrases like check the material, ask staff for advice, and comfortable and suitable clothes are useful for daily shopping conversations. Next, let's talk about visiting a cafe alone. My friend Ethan explained, I order my drink, find a quiet table, and observe the surroundings. Sitting alone allows me to reflect on my day and enjoy a peaceful moment. Key phrases include observe the surroundings, reflect on my day, and peaceful moment. These are natural phrases for daily life. Now, I want to share a story about going to a post office. My friend Laura said, I check the postage rates, fill out the forms carefully, and hand over the parcels. The staff often give helpful instructions, which makes the process easy. Phrases like fill out the forms carefully, hand over the parcels, and helpful instructions are practical daily expressions. Here's a story about visiting a small market. My friend James explained, I check fresh produce, ask the seller about new items, and sometimes taste samples. Visiting local markets is enjoyable and supports small businesses. Key phrases include taste samples, support small businesses, and enjoyable. These are accessible for daily conversation. Next, let's talk about visiting a library for study purposes. My friend Michael said, I choose a quiet spot, take notes, and refer to reference books. Libraries are peaceful and help me focus on learning. Phrases like refer to reference books, quiet spot, and help me focus are simple and natural for daily life English. Now, I want to share a story about walking in a park alone. My friend Olivia said, I follow the walking path, enjoy the fresh air, and watch people exercising. Being outdoors helps me think clearly and feel relaxed. Key expressions include follow the walking path, watch people exercising, and feel relaxed. These are very practical for daily conversation. Here's a story about dining in a small cafe. My friend Daniel explained, I check the menu, ask for the day's special, and order a light meal. I sit comfortably and observe the surroundings while enjoying the food. Phrases like day's special, sit comfortably, and observe the surroundings are useful for casual daily life interactions. Next, let's focus on visiting a local store for daily needs. My friend Hannah said, I check the shelves for items I need, compare prices, and ask the staff for suggestions. Shopping carefully ensures I buy what is useful and fresh. Key phrases include check the shelves, buy what is useful, and ensure freshness. These are natural phrases for daily errands. Now, I want to share a story about taking a short walk around the neighborhood. My friend Lucas said, I walk along familiar streets, greet neighbors, and enjoy the quiet surroundings. Walking regularly helps me stay healthy and relaxed. Phrases like greet neighbors, quiet surroundings, and helps me stay healthy are accessible and practical. Here's a story about using a cafe for a casual meeting. My friend Victoria said, I meet friends, order drinks, and discuss daily plans. The environment is casual, allowing for relaxed conversation and sharing updates. Phrases like discuss daily plans, casual environment, and sharing updates are simple yet effective for daily life conversations. Next, let's talk about grocery shopping efficiently. My friend Ethan explained, I organize the cart by type of items, check labels, and compare prices. Efficient shopping saves time and makes the trip more productive. Key expressions include organize the cart, check labels, and makes the trip more productive. These are practical for daily conversations. Now, I want to share a story about visiting a park with a spouse. My friend Laura said, we walk together, talk about our plans, and enjoy the scenery. Spending time outdoors strengthens our relationship and relaxes the mind. Phrases like talk about our plans, enjoy the scenery, and strengthens our relationship are very useful for daily life English. Here's a story about using public transport on weekends. My friend James said, I check the timetable, board the bus, and find a comfortable seat. Traveling calmly and prepared makes the journey smooth. Key phrases include find a comfortable seat, traveling calmly, and makes the journey smooth. These are simple and natural for everyday situations. My friend Oliver recently shared his experience walking around his neighborhood. He said, I like to greet neighbors while walking my dog. Sometimes we stop for a few minutes and talk about daily activities or local news. These small conversations make the community feel friendly and connected. Phrases like greet neighbors, stop for a few minutes, and feel friendly and connected are simple and natural for daily life conversations. Oliver continued, I also enjoy observing the different houses and gardens along the street. Some neighbors grow flowers, while others keep vegetable patches. Noticing these details makes my walk more enjoyable. Key expressions here include observing the different houses, grow flowers, and makes my walk more enjoyable. These are practical phrases for everyday English. Next, let's focus on visiting a local cafe. My friend Hannah said, I go there to have breakfast or coffee. I often ask about today's specials and choose items I have not tried before. Sometimes I chat with the barista about coffee preparation techniques. Phrases like today's specials, choose items I have not tried before, and coffee preparation techniques are accessible and useful for daily interactions. Now, I want to share a story about shopping at a small bakery. My friend Lucas said, I buy freshly baked bread and pastries. I ask for recommendations on seasonal items and sometimes get a small sample to taste. Enjoying freshly baked food is a pleasant part of the day. Key phrases include seasonal items, get a small sample to taste, and pleasant part of the day. These are simple yet practical for daily life English. Here's a story about going to a grocery store. My friend Victoria explained, I check the shopping list, compare prices between brands, and pick items that are fresh. I also look for healthy options, such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Being mindful while shopping ensures I buy what is best for my family. Phrases like compare prices between brands, look for healthy options, and ensures I buy what is best are accessible for daily conversation. Next, let's talk about using public transport. My friend Ethan said, I always check the route and the timetable before leaving home. I keep my travel card ready and choose a seat where I can relax. If the bus is crowded, I stand near the door for a quick exit at my stop. Key expressions include keep my travel card ready, where I can relax, and quick exit at my stop. These are practical phrases for commuting. Now, I want to share a story about dining at a small restaurant. My friend Laura said, I like to order dishes that are popular locally. I ask the waiter about ingredients and portion sizes. Dining out is an enjoyable way to experience new flavors and spend time with family. Phrases like popular locally, ask about ingredients, and experience new flavors are simple but very useful for social interactions. Here's a story about visiting a park for a short walk. My friend James explained, I follow the walking paths, enjoy the fresh air, and watch people exercising. Sometimes I stop at a bench to rest and observe birds or small animals nearby. Key phrases include follow the walking paths, watch people exercising, and observe birds or small animals. These are accessible and practical for daily life conversations. Next, let's focus on visiting a pharmacy. My friend Michael said, I check the shelves for vitamins, bandages, or other essentials. If I am unsure about a product, I ask the pharmacist for instructions. Understanding proper usage is important for health and safety. Phrases like check the shelves, ask for instructions, and important for health and safety are simple yet practical for daily interactions. Now, I want to share a story about going to a local market. My friend Olivia said, I check fresh fruits and vegetables, compare prices, and ask the seller about the origin of products. Local markets offer a variety of options and help support the community. Key expressions include compare prices, origin of products, and help support the community. These are useful phrases for everyday shopping. Here's a story about visiting a cafe with a spouse. My friend Daniel said, we order drinks, sit by the window, and enjoy the view outside. Talking about our plans or memories makes the time enjoyable. Spending quiet time together strengthens our relationship. Phrases like sit by the window, enjoy the view outside, and strengthens our relationship are natural and accessible. Next, let's talk about walking in a park with children. My friend Hannah explained, I supervise my children while they play on swings and slides. We also collect fallen leaves or observe insects. Outdoor activities are fun and educational for kids. Key phrases include supervise my children, observe insects, and fun and educational. These are practical for daily life English conversations. Now, I want to share a story about using public transport to reach a shopping center. My friend Lucas said, I plan the route in advance, check the timetable, and board the bus early. I find a seat and carry a small bag for purchases. Being prepared makes the journey smooth. Phrases like board the bus early, carry a small bag, and makes the journey smooth are very practical. Here's a story about buying groceries efficiently. My friend Victoria said, I organize my cart by category, check expiration dates, and choose the freshest items. Comparing different brands helps me find better quality products. Planning the shopping trip reduces stress. Phrases like organize my cart by category, check expiration dates, and reduces stress are accessible and useful. Next, let's focus on visiting a small bookstore. My friend Ethan explained, I browse shelves for books I am interested in, ask staff for recommendations, and compare prices. Reading books enhances knowledge and provides enjoyable experiences. Key expressions include browse shelves, ask staff for recommendations, and enhances knowledge. These are simple, but very practical. Now, I want to share a story about having breakfast at a cafe. My friend Laura said, I order a coffee and a pastry, find a comfortable table, and read a book or the newspaper. Enjoying a relaxed breakfast is a good way to start the day. Phrases like find a comfortable table, read the newspaper, and start the day are accessible and natural for daily life English. Here's a story about visiting a local pharmacy. My friend James said, I check the labels on products, ask for guidance from the staff, and buy only what I need. Following instructions carefully ensures proper usage and safety. Phrases like check the labels, guidance from the staff, and proper usage and safety are simple and practical. Next, let's talk about walking in the neighborhood. My friend Michael explained, I observe flowers, trees, and small details around houses. I greet neighbors and sometimes have short conversations. Walking regularly keeps me active and improves my mood. Key phrases include have short conversations, keeps me active, and improves my mood. These are natural for everyday interactions. Now, I want to share a story about dining in a small cafe with friends. My friend Olivia said, we order drinks, share a snack, and talk about recent events. Cafes are good places for casual conversations and spending time together. Phrases like share a snack, talk about recent events, and good places for casual conversations are accessible for daily English use. Here's a story about taking a taxi. My friend Daniel explained, I tell the driver the destination clearly, keep my phone ready for navigation, and ensure I have the correct fare. Taking a taxi efficiently saves time and reduces stress. Key expressions include destination clearly, correct fare, and reduces stress. These are practical for daily life situations. Next, let's focus on visiting a library to study. My friend Hannah said, I find reference books, take notes carefully, and return items on time. The library is a quiet environment that helps me focus and concentrate. Phrases like take notes carefully, return items on time, and helps me focus are simple and practical. Now, I want to share a story about shopping at a local market. My friend Lucas said, I check fresh vegetables and fruits, ask the seller about new items, and compare prices. Visiting the market is enjoyable and supports local businesses. Key phrases include new items, compare prices, and supports local businesses. These are accessible for everyday conversation. Here's a story about walking in a park alone. My friend Victoria explained, I follow the paths, observe people exercising, and enjoy the scenery. Walking outdoors helps me think clearly and reduces stress. Phrases like observe people exercising, enjoy the scenery, and reduces stress are natural for daily life English. Next, let's talk about dining in a cafe with a spouse. My friend Ethan said, we order drinks, sit at a window table, and discuss our plans for the week. Enjoying a relaxed atmosphere strengthens our relationship and creates pleasant memories. Key expressions include window table, discuss our plans, and creates pleasant memories. These are practical for social situations. Now, I want to share a story about grocery shopping for the week. My friend Laura said, I make a list, compare prices, check for fresh items, and select healthy options. Organizing the shopping trip saves time and ensures quality products for the family. Phrases like check for fresh items, select healthy options, and ensures quality products are accessible and practical.